Hello, I am Dr. Marge Maxwell, and I am your professor for this LITE 535 Survey of Educational Technology Practices this semester. I'm going to begin this video with telling you a little bit about who I am and then give you an overview of the whole course and how all the assignments fit together. And then we'll dive into Module 1, which is due over the next 2 weeks. I began at WKU in 1997 in the computer science department. Technology has always been my thing. And in 2001, I moved over to teach educational technology in the library media education program. Even more my thing. I love teaching teachers how to use technology in teaching and leadership. But I retired in 2021, but I am still teaching 1 to 2 classes per semester in educational technology and instructional design on a part-time basis. I now live in Florida, a small town outside of Tallahassee in the fishing area of the Gulf of America. So I have a husband, Harold Maxwell, who's a little bit of a different kind of person. He grew up in Hong Kong as a missionary kid and has done so many different things. He's had much more of an interesting life than I am. But we will look at one of the things that he is doing now, and it will impact me in this course. So I'm going to share my screen with you. This is my husband. He is a professional Santa Claus. We go to Fort Mill, South Carolina, which is about 1 mile from the North Carolina line, and it takes in the whole greater Charlotte, North Carolina area. So I will be leaving here October 20 something and going up there to stay until the new year. We do Santa Claus in a private setting at a conference center, and we have lots of families that have been to see Santa Max for 16 and 17 years. So, and we have just lots of techniques to work with the kids. I hire all the elves, and it's just really been a wonderful adventure, actually. So here's Santa Max. Here's me. Yes, I am Mrs. Claus. And this is one of our elves, McKenna. And here are some of our other elves. Now, I make all of the Santa Claus, my clothes, all the elf clothes. So that's what a lot of what I've been doing this summer. Now, this website is, of course, set up for last year. My son and I are working on updating this for the 2026 season. So, but while I'm gone, I will absolutely have access to good internet and will keep up with this class. You should not know that I'm even gone. Okay, let's talk about this course this semester. I have this in the student preview mode so that you will see it just like you see it, not the way I see it as your instructor. There are 6 modules and a final exam. Instructions for MAT students. I'll go over that in a minute. So module 1 is kind of an orientation to the course. Every one of the modules has an overview. It has a video of me telling you about this course. It will give you all the readings and videos to view. and then tell you what the assessments are or assignments you need to complete. So that's the organization of all of these modules. Then under that will be the links to the readings, links to the assignments, and the video for each module goes into depth about each of those and how you will use it. Let's look at the course syllabus. When you pull it up, it goes into, it's a Google Doc and it's a view only. I'm going to look at it as me so that I won't have that request access. I am giving you my personal cell phone number. I prefer text. I am available to you. You may text me. You may email me at any point. We can make an appointment either by texting or phone call appointment or Zoom, like on this very same link. Of course, our class is in Blackboard. Go on down. No specific textbook is required for this course. You have the specific objectives for this course that are tied to the assignments or assessments. Student learning outcomes is what we call them, and throughout the course you'll see something about this is correlated to SLO2 or SLO6, and that is right here, these course objectives in the syllabus. Next is probably one of the most important things in this course, and that is the calendar. It gives you the exact assignment, and the due dates are in red. All assignments are due at 11:59 p.m., or really midnight, of the due date. So all of the assignments are here. You'll also see that you have at least 2 weeks for every one of these rows. So week 1 and 2, these are the assignments and when they're due. Weeks 3 and 4, they're due on September 20. They have 2 weeks. Most of the assignments, you have about 2 weeks to complete them. We are going to be creating in this course an instructional design project. You'll hear me refer to it over and over as the IDP, Instructional Design Project. It's where you're going to be designing a single lesson on a real world topic. Okay, so a topic of teaching the book Romeo and Juliet, or in math, learning some complex math skills. That's not real world. Now, in Romeo and Juliet are lots of real world themes, and that could be your topic. In math was created to explain the real world, so find a real world topic where students can apply that math skill that you want them to learn. But it must be a real world topic, and students must create something with technology. So we're going to talk a lot more about that. I'm just kind of giving you an overview right now. So you'll design it, I will look at it, and give you feedback and approval, and then you teach it. And look, you've got weeks 11, 12, and 13 to do so. And then weeks 14 and 15, you will finish your teaching and personal reflection. Now notice that all the other due dates are on Sunday. You're kind of going to get used to that, but at the end it's a little different. That's why I capitalized them in all caps, and so that you could see this. The final IDP is due Friday, December 4th. That's the last day of classes. Then the next week, December 7 to 10 is finals week. You have a short 25 multiple choice final exam, and it is due Thursday, December 10. Now, if you happen to submit your IDP before December 4th, you may text me or email me and say, I'd like the access code to the final exam because I want to go ahead and get that behind me. When you finish your final exam, you are finished with this course. Yay! The points for this course total to 1,000. And so we use a 10% grading scale. So 900 to 1,000's an A, and so on down the line. Next, we have in the syllabus just university and department policies. I do want to point out the WKU email. I would like your emails to me to in the subject field to have like this, to have LITE 535, your last name, and just a brief phrase on what this email is about. And the reason I really want and need this LITE 535 to be in the subject of your emails to me is because I use Microsoft Outlook, and it will sort all of my mail, and anything to do with this course is in one folder. So I can go straight to that course and answer all of your emails. I do that every day. You will hear back from me within 24 hours of emailing me. You may text me and you'll get a quicker response. I usually answer those within the hour. Okay, I'm not going to read this to you. Most of the rest of this is what's required by accreditation. All of these standard alignment is required by accreditation, and that's it. You're mostly concerned with the first 3 pages. And I highly suggest that you print this second page, print this calendar, and keep that beside your computer as you are working. I'm actually going to keep that calendar up because we're going to come back to this. Okay, let's go back to the course. And I want to show you the workflow of the instructional design project. You click here to kind of open it. Ooh, that's small. You can click the plus to make it bigger. So this is the workflow this whole semester of us working through your IDP. In the first week, you're going to give me an authentic curriculum topic. Okay, so you'll look in the directions of that particular discussion board and you can comment on each other's. The next assignment is higher level thinking skills blooms, and you're going to create 12 activities on your authentic curriculum topic that you selected. So you're creating those as activities you could do in your instructional design project. You're required to pick a activity that is higher level thinking. That means analysis, evaluation, or create. The third assignment that relates to your IDP is objectives and assessments. You're going to create the 4-part objectives, the content and the technology objective for your IDP. And you're going to create scoring rubrics for each of those 2 objectives. So you're going to have that much work done before you get to the next step. Web 2.0 tools. You're going to create 2 technology products that relate to your IDP topic. One of them is going to be sample student work for your IDP. If you said that students were going to use a drafting program to create blueprints for a shed or something that they designed, then you do that as a model student in your class so that you can give your students a good sample. So Before you get to where you're creating your IDP and filling out that template, you've already decided what higher level thinking activities you're going to use. You've already created your objectives and rubrics for that. You've already created sample student work and the technology objective for your IDP. So in step 5, that's due the 1st of November, you will fill out the template to complete the IDP lesson, getting it all ready to teach. I will review it almost as soon as you submit it and give you suggestions for improvement or just approval to go ahead and teach. Then from November 2nd to the 22nd, you teach your lesson. Now I talk in the module about this, but you can teach really anybody for this lesson. Just try to teach it to somebody. If you're in a classroom, you're a teacher in a classroom, you've got a ready audience. But you may decide to teach the whole class or just a small group of that. If you do not have a classroom, maybe you're an MAT student and you do not have a classroom, can you borrow a few students in a place where you're doing field experience? If not, you can use neighborhood kids, kids in an after-school program, students, kids at your church, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. I've had people do that. There are so many places where people are. But some of you will teach adults. You're in the instructional design program and you can teach your coworkers, you could teach your family members. Even if you are an MAT student and you don't have a class, you could teach the class to some friends of yours. It's just good experience for you to teach this to somebody, and then you can see where you were the strongest and where you might need to revise the lesson for next time. Okay, once you finish teaching it, you have the IDP reflection. This is a reflection about the teaching and how the lesson went, and it's a personal reflection related to this topic as well. The final due date on this, again, is December 4th, which is the last day of class, a Friday. If you finish this earlier and turn it in earlier, I don't care. If you got to actually teach early and you fill out this form and submit it, let me know that you submit it and I'll send you the access code for the final exam and you can take it and be finished with the course early. So I just wanted you to see the workflow of this IDP throughout the semester, and I will bring this up again in other modules. So module 1 is an introduction. Module 2 is designing the blooms, the higher level thinking activities. Again, you have an overview. This is a video introduction I created about the higher level thinking, and it's everything you want to know about this module. These are the readings, and then we have the worksheet that you could fill out and the rubric for this assignment and the place where you submit it. Next, as you saw in the workflow, is objectives and assessment. You are In the overview, you'll see you're creating objectives and rubrics. In your IDP, you're only going to have 2 objectives. They're kind of like the summative objectives. What is the content that you want students to leave its lesson knowing? And then what is the technology that you want them to create? And so you're going to create the 2 objectives in this ABCD format and create a scoring rubric for both objectives. In Web Module 4, you're making 2 technology products that support your IDP. Here is my video introduction to this module. You have the Web 2.0 document giving you much more details. And if you have never watched a Notebook LM AI generated podcast, you will like this. This podcast, it is auditory only, but it gives you answers to your nitty-gritty questions about this module. So you definitely want to listen to that. And so here's the project description form that you fill out here, and here's the scoring rubric. Okay. And you upload here. Module 5 is IDP creation. As in all the modules, you have an overview that I created on how you do this module. You have the template here that you are going to download. So you download over here. I'm going to make it bigger so you can see a little bit. See the content and technology objective you've already created. You just paste it there. Now you're going to relate it to standards. But many of these things you've already done. This is a big section where you're doing student directions and probably a worksheet to help guide students' thinking. But the scoring rubrics for your 2 objectives you've already created. You just paste a copy here. Sample student work for the technology objective, you've already done that. So you put the link here and you're going to evaluate it with your rubric for that technology objective. And there's a couple of other things. A reflection and self-evaluation, those questions are in the directions file. And always give references, full annotated APA references. I talk more about that in the video file in the overview. And this is where you submit it. Then in between these two, you actually teach your lesson to somebody. Here's a video about this module and all the details. So this is the IDP reflection. It's got some directions at the top, and these are the questions that you just fill out. Of course, the form is going to grow as you type in it. So you type in this file, you will, of course, have to download it to your computer. You'll be submitting your IDP to 3 places, and there's a grade for doing that. You're going to submit it here in Blackboard, right here where it says Submit IDP Reflection, and this is where I will grade it from. You are submitting to the LITE organization site. You submit the IDP lesson and this reflection to the LITE organization site. And then the college has a new accountability program called Watermark that you will upload to, and the directions are under that. So both of these are for our accountability for the program. Okay, so when you have submitted that, there is a final exam, which is due on the 10th, but it's going to be available from the 4th to the 10th of December. If you're an MAT student, Master of Arts in Teaching, getting your initial certification, and you do not have a classroom, you have a requirement of doing 20 field hours in this course. And so here are some of the guidelines here. If you are one of those students, an MAT student who is not in a classroom, I'd like for you to contact me and let's maybe talk a little bit about what you can do, what your experience already is with field experience. Okay, so that's your overview. Let's go on now and look at Module 1 more in depth. Of course, there's an overview. This is this video. There are some readings and TED Talks to watch, so you need to read and watch these. By the way, the final exam will come from all these readings and viewings. So you might want to take a few notes. The final exam is open book. You can look back at any of these while you're taking the exam, but you only have 2 hours. So you need to be a little bit familiar with them. The assessments in this are the orientation form by the first Sunday, August 30th. Participate in the authentic curriculum topic discussion board by the first Sunday, August 30th, and submit your website on the second Sunday. All right, let's look at these assignments. All right, we have looked at the workflow of the IDP. And during some of the following videos, I kind of come back to this because we are continuing to work on your instructional design project. In fact, one of the things you're doing this first week is your authentic, open-ended, real-world topic. I give you some links that can give you some ideas. Here are some examples. I actually put this together a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I think the last time I taught this. And so here are some real world topics. And I give you a content objective and a technology objective. The content objective is higher level thinking. The technology objective requires students to create some kind of technology. So remember this file when you are writing your objectives for your real world topic. Now, one thing I get from a lot of teachers is, well, we can't do higher level thinking in kindergarten or first grade. It might not be quite as easy, but they can. Let me make this a little bit bigger because I added one at the bottom here for kindergarten. One of the main units in a kindergarten class is community helpers. So maybe they could create an original community helper that doesn't exist. So here is a higher level thinking content objective and a technology objective that students can do. If you teach in the lower levels and you have never used Explain Everything, oh my gosh, this will be a game changer for you. Students can draw stuff and then touch this one thing on the iPad and they can record and talk about the thing that they drew. So that is a very good option for kindergarten, first grade, really any elementary. Okay, let's go back to the discussion board. You're going to post your idea here on Friday, August 28th of the first week of class for your authentic topic. All right, then by Sunday, you're going to respond and give suggestions to 3 of your peers in this class. That way you can kind of look at their feedback, and I will give feedback as well, and you can kind of refine your topic for the next assignment after the website. Email Dr. Maxwell by Sunday, August 30th, describing these things. What program are you in? For adults, what is your setting, field, and type of adults that you'll be teaching? For teachers, do you have your own classroom that you're currently teaching in? If so, what grade level and subject? For MAT, do you have teaching certification, or are you pursuing initial teaching certification? Are you in the classroom now? If so, what grade level? But you're also giving me your final ideas for your topic, level of students, technology you would use, proposed lesson activities. You're not held to these, just what is your thinking at this time, and what higher level thinking do you think you might have your students use? Okay, so that's all due August 30th. I'm having you post your first ideas on Friday so that then you have 2 more days to respond to people. All right. These two are readings. The orientation activity, click Start Attempt. And here you are filling out these questions. Now, at the end are questions about the reading. From the Stanford report, what are your thoughts on technology trends, Question 12, after watching the TED Talk, how would you describe your thoughts about If there's anything else you want to say or comment about at this point, you're welcome. I will read and respond to you. This is due Sunday the 30th. Now, for the second week, you're going to create a 3-page website. You may use Google Sites, Wix, WordPress, Squarespace, or Adobe Portfolio. Now, Squarespace costs money. Anything at Adobe costs money. Well, if you already have Adobe Creative Cloud, then you have Portfolio and you could create a website with that. But you know that Google Sites is free, Wix and WordPress are free. So you can go down, here are some resources you can click on to learn a little bit more. Best graphic design. So you need to read all these directions yourself. You're creating 3 pages, an About Me page, a page about UDL, Universal Design for Learning in my classroom, and choosing technology with a purpose. Then under this, it gives you all the details that we want in your About Me page, and you're going to explain your curriculum topic and why you chose it. So that's why you needed to do the topic before this assignment. As we go along, you're just kind of refining your topic. Parameters for the UDL page and parameters for the page choosing tech with a purpose. You may reference your experience from previous course or your own readings. Make sure it is published and you submit the URL through Blackboard. Make sure that it's published and that it is public so that I can view it. It's not really submitted if it is submitted as a creation file or I can't view it. So you've got to check it out and make sure it's really published. And that concludes Module 1. Okay, so I want to reiterate again that I am available to you. You can text me at my personal cell phone. I will answer you back. You can email me at my WKU email, and I want you to use your WKU email as well. And so I want to hear from you. Communication is very important to me and to you. If you are going to be out of town, it's like a planned trip, let me know in advance and hopefully you can complete your work in advance. However, if you have some kind of emergency during this course, someone dies that's in another state, or a family member got critically ill and is going to be in the hospital, or if you are, I will work with you on due dates. I am really here to help you. So I want to hear from you. So this concludes this video.